So yeah, the first thing we need to just vote on is to vote on a time extension as we come back. So I think if we go, we say 9 o'clock at the outside. Okay. So can I have a proposer, Councillor Isaac, and seconder, Councillor Pollard? All those in favour? Carried. Thank you very much. So with members' permission, I'd like to move another item up the agenda, agenda item 19. This is so Will can leave us. So it's the event sponsorship environment of funds. So that's at the moment is 19. Now before we actually go into this one, I'm suspending another standing order. I'm suspending standing order 7.1. in that a resolution shall not be reversed within 6 months, except either by a special motion, which requires written notice by at least 8 councillors to be given to the proper officer in accordance with Standing Order 9, or by a motion moved in pursuance of the recommendation of a committee or a subcommittee. So it was because this initial decision was made less than 6 months ago. Can I have a proposer, please? Councillor Pollard and a seconder. Councillor, sorry. All those in favour? Thank you very much. So we are being asked to consider the environment of a total of £9,450 from the community in place related grant budget to the sponsorship budget line within the grants budget, and members to review and recommend the budget adjustments to full council in June. And just bear with me while I get back onto the bit like Joe here. I don't know where we are. So 19. Craig, comes over to you, Craig.
Yeah, thank you very much, Chair. So we just wanted to take this opportunity to highlight to members environment of funds to the grants budget. So as you may be aware, Taunton Pride CIC were earmarked to receive a £7,000 grant, and Pride in Prizewood were also due to receive a grant of £2,450. So the environment of £7,000 from the funding that was earmarked to go to Taunton Pride CIC due to the organisation no longer requiring the funds. Taunton Pride will not be happening in 2025 under the existing organisers. The environment of £2,450 from the funding that was earmarked for Pride and Prizewood, as the organisation are already in receipt of the youth grant and therefore does not require any extra funding this year. Members are asked to note that the Pride and Prizewood are due to receive this youth grant until this year when the service level agreement finishes, and therefore a new SLA for a grant to support Pride and Prizewood would then be able to start in 26-27. Members are just to note that the existing events are confirmed and will be receiving their allocated grant funding. So that is Armed Forces Day of £5,000, Taunton Flower Show £2,500, Winterfest £7,000, but subject to alignment with the community needs. And this item will come back to the committee in July. So the total allocated from this pot now is £14,500 compared to the £25,000 that was initially allocated. So the environment of 9,450 of the community in place budget 160,7272 will now be transferred to the grants budget 140,7302, specifically the sponsorship budget line. The sponsorship funding has currently been completely allocated, so this will help to provide additional funding to other events taking place across Taunton. Thank you.
Thank you, Greg. And just to note that the total amount allocated from pot is 15,500 because there was a so it's 15,500. So there's an extra thing from there. So it's just a small typo on the report. Any questions? It's just a straightforward transfer of unused funds back to the grants pot. So can I have we're being asked to consider that environment in total of 9,450 from community in place related grant budget back to the sponsorship budget line within the grants budget, and to review and recommend those budget adjustments to full council in June. Can I have a proposer, please? Councillor Pollard, seconder, Councillor Isaac, all those in favour? Thank you. Thank you very much. Thanks, Will. So, back onto the vote to reinstate standing orders. Can I have a proposer, please? Councillor Pollard and a seconder, Councillor Tully. All those in favour? Thanks, Ollie. So much to remember. So, next, climate plan amendments and initiative update, and I believe this is another one of Jordan's reports. And thank you.
So the purpose of this report is to run through some updates and to improve the updates and changes to wording of the climate and ecological plan. I understand that we have gone through the climate and ecological working group, as well as provide you with an update on works undertaken by the climate officer to date, as well as planned future works. So I'll start by going through the general wording amendments to strengthen the climate plan. So to include the additions of under ambition 4, food can fix it, identify community growing spaces across the town in our parks and open spaces to alternate pieces of land to increase organic food availability and promote growing skills for long-term food resilience. Promote local nature-friendly farming business links for residents and positive local food production certified organic growing standards, and adopt a 50% plant-based planet positive by default policy for any catering we provide for meetings or events, meaning the standard will be plant-based considering dietary needs like gluten intolerance, and while seeking to acquire the remaining 50% from local nature-friendly farming suppliers, sourced from local caterers to support our surrounding economy. Ambition 6, making space for nature, have a robust tree policy that reflects best practice, enhancing our native tree canopy over green corridors and biodiversity improvement, implementing our grasslands management strategy created with Sunset Wildlife Trust, create and promote the creation of a Garden for Biodiversity award in conjunction with Taunton and Bloom to encourage wildlife-friendly garden approaches, create a biodiversity policy to protect wildlife in the spaces we own and manage, develop an open spaces climate strategy with the operations and assets team to ensure an open spaces approach which aligns with the environmental objectives stated in this plan, and to protect, enhance and advocate for the continued improvement and ecological condition of the village home. Under ambition 7, resilient communities, engage with the wider district and county-wide nature recovery strategies with the relevant organisations, ensuring our strategy enhances and complements the larger strategic vision of the locale for nature recovery. To note, to include the finalised edits of the following wording. Promote community initiatives like the vegan potluck supper and events such as Taunton Vegan Market to enable accessibility for residents that are interested in plant-based eating, whilst increasing awareness of the opportunities for residents to sample plant-based eating. Remove the use of peat. Continue to manage our parks and spaces in a way that supports wildlife enhancement, creating a town-wide native wildfire recovery strategy with a focusing on grassland management and whilst choosing pesticide-free and pollinator-friendly flowering plants. The next amendment was to the net zero section of the climate plan. So the change of wordings will change to Taunton Town Council aims to become a net zero council by 2030 in relation to Taunton Town Council Scope 1 emissions from our own operations, business as usual. Taunton Town Council Scope 2 emissions from purchased energy. Taunton Town Council aims to reduce our Scope 3 emissions by 50% by 2030. Scope 3 emissions are the emissions from the operations of other organisations or individuals within the council's upstream or downstream supply chain. For the council, relevant Scope 3 emissions will include business travel, waste, employee commuting and lease assets. Following minor projects have been identified by the climate officer to either deliver upon multiple objectives within the climate plan or to streamline workflows. And these are the projects that our climate officer Jordan will be working on in the coming months. So the first is climate promotion. So it's the idea of creating a bulk of stock content for our communications platform to support with signposting, volunteering opportunities, ongoing projects, and to provide information service to residents. To develop a big green directory, establishing a dedicated section of the website to signpost residents to useful green resources such as retrofitting opportunities. Plastic-free communities, to support the creation of a plastic-free steering group to achieve plastic-free town status, and to pass a plastic-free motion at full council as stipulated in the climate plan. Resilient networks to create a designated forum for the ambitions of the climate plan. So a forum for food, energy and decarbonisation, sustainable transport, nature and circular economy. And by providing these networks, it will allow the climate officer to streamline their work by meeting with regular stakeholders, to foster a stronger dialogue between the community and the council, to identify wanted desire in the community for the projects, to utilise community knowledge and skills to help deliver the plan and to promote that buy-in with the plan, and for the relevant community groups to network, skill share and collaborate. Jordan's also working on the local decarbonisation business survey, so working with Net Zero Taunton to support the removal of accessibility issues for local businesses in being able to develop decarbonisation and sustainability plans. And the council would like to share a co-created local business decarbonisation survey by promoting it through our social channels, including sending a survey out to the Chamber of Commerce to support in identifying accessibility issues for these plans. And then finally, a quick summary of the work that Jordan has done in post as climate officer. So far, one of the key projects that our climate officer has undertaken is initiated ecological surveys to be conducted in the following park locations: Victoria, Comey Trove, French Weir, Hawthorne, Taunton Green, Gamington Way, Greenway and Hamilton. She's also working on including a strategic town-wide desk study to identify future green corridor creation. And other ongoing works that have been asked to note is progressing avenues to deliver a native wildflower recovery strategy, drafting a biodiversity policy, planning works to deliver a green fair to celebrate the Big Green Week, and strengthening the green flag management plan.
Thank you, Tim. There we go. Thank you, Tim. Very busy lady, very busy. So I think we will look at all of take all 8, I think, all together. So we're being asked to approve the updates and changes to the climate and ecological plan, to note the key projects started since the climate officer came into post, to approve the creation of climate promotional resources to be distributed on our social media platforms, to approve the creation of a designated green directory section on the council's website, to approve the creation of a plastic-free community steering group and project undertaking, to approve the creation of resilience networks to support the climate officer in facilitating the delivery of the climate plan, to approve the sharing of a local decarbonisation business survey on our social media, and to approve delegated authority for the community and place manager to spend up to £1,000 in facilitating and delivering the noted initiatives, leaving £41,470 remaining in the climate budget. So if there are any questions or any thing about that report, it's probably easier to sort of go straight back to Jordan on those points. Unless there's any burning issue now. Councillor Tully.
Sorry about it. I'm sorry, Chair, to say it's go net zero by 2030 is looking in land cuckoo. There is no way on this earth we're going to do that. The government can't even get close to it. How the heck are we to? I'd rather us not say that. People read it and they won't be happy with it.
Okay, Thank you, councillor Tully. Tilly, do you want to come back to that one?
Thank you. I would just like to note that our existing and already approved climate and ecological plan that went through full committee already has that commitment of 2030. The updates in this report just stipulate the difference between scope 1, scope 2 and scope 3. And the main amendment we've made is to clarify a 50% reduction in our scope 3. So where our suppliers would contribute to our emissions so that it is more achievable. I just wanted to note that we have already committed to that 2030 deadline. Thank you.
Thank you, Tilly. Thank you,
Can I come back on that?
Yeah, councillor Tully.
When are we going to close the M5? Because that is our biggest problem. What the emissions from the M5 come across Taunton, and if we have a south wind, it comes into Taunton. We can't put a barrier around the town. Sorry.
Thank you, councillor Tully. Tilly, do you want to respond to that? And then councillor Ellis.
Thank you. So for clarification, the commitment here is for the council's own emissions profile. So as a council, it would be our net zero, but there are separate works in terms of our emissions around the town, and I think that's noted. Thank you.
Thank you, Tilly. Thank you, councillor Ellis.
Yeah, no, I was just going to emphasise that the specific thing about we need to get to net zero by 2030 is in respect of what we do as a council. So we're a new council. So this is why we've been like pressing so heavily on like electric vehicles, electric kit, because if you're a new council, you can avoid building up a lot of carbon emissions. So the specific thing where we're really going for 2030 is in relation to the things that we are doing as a council in terms of our facilities and the way that we manage things. We have an ambition to get to, everybody has an ambition to get to net zero as quickly as possible, but the climate plan and action thing is about really nitty-gritty specific things that we're going to do towards that, and also towards boosting nature across Taunton. Nobody, I think, pretends that we can solve, you know, the entire problem of climate change and whatever in Taunton by 2030, but we're definitely going to aim to do very specific things that really move us a lot closer to that.
I should start there.
Thank you. Any further questions? You want to read those out again, or can we all remember them?
We can all remember them, I think.
Yes.
Can I have a proposer, please, councillor Ellis, and a seconder, councillor Pollard? All those in favour? Thank you. And any any abstentions? Councillor Tully. Thank you. Noted. Thank you very much. Item 15, civic spend. So we are being asked to consider and approve a budget allocation of £11,950 for upcoming civic events and activities, to give delegated powers to the community and place managers to spend up to £11,950 on the civic events and activities, and to note that the Remembrance Sunday traffic management tender submissions will be coming to committee for review and decisions in the near future. You'll also note on your report that it's not on the agenda that members are to give delegated powers to community and place manager to spend up to £650 from the civic events and activities budget line for ad hoc small spends. Jo.
Thank you, Chair. Some background to this report. Taunton, as you know, has a long-standing tradition in hosting a range of civic activities throughout the year, which receive high praise from residents and visitors alike. These events boost community spirit, highlight Taunton's cultural offerings, whilst fostering a sense of civic pride. So these events and activities take time to plan and incur a range of costs. I've detailed 8 different elements within this report, and I'm happy to run through each one line by line if you would like to do that. Or we can I can just give a quick run through. Fabulous. Okay, so the first item to consider is the Taunton Carnival reception. So traditionally, the Mayor of Taunton takes part in the procession. Prior to that, he meets with his guests at a place within the many road closures that are happening to ensure we've got everybody in the right place at the right time, in a spot that we can get them to the start of the procession. So we're looking to seek some budget to find a space, provide a few refreshments before we step off and to transport our guests back to the beginning spot, because the mayor will probably depart to take part in the judging and the prize giving at the end of the procession. So we're looking for approximately £300 to cover that particular element. The next element is a new element into the mix. In recent years, the Mayor of Taunton, as president of the carnival, has noted that the prize giving element of the event falls a little short compared to other events that happen on the network. So we'd like to try and support the Carnival Committee in co-hosting as president the prize giving element. We're a bit restricted in terms of venues in Taunton that fall within the footprint of the carnival procession, because obviously there's still road closures in place. There's an end point where everybody that participates then needs to quickly get to wherever we host the prize giving. Unfortunately, from the 3 venues that we have, there's only one that has availability to host us. So my proposal is that we look to approve up to £550 to host this year, but perhaps with a caveat that the Carnival Committee factor this in future years within their grant application or support from the Town Council. I think this is just to get this kind of added into the mix and to bring it up to an expected standard. Number 3 on the list is the remembrance props for the Build Remembrance. There is a photo in the report that shows you what the props currently look like. They're probably the best part of 20 years old. They are starting to be a bit weather-worn, starting to rot and fall apart, and basically very out of date. They don't cover recent conflicts. They don't cover every kind of battalion or regiment that are even living locally within the town. So what we would like to do is seek some funding to update these props, and that's working with local veteran groups, the Royal British Legion, to make sure that we have this now in a more modern way of describing the battles. At the moment it's set up and each regiment has an area. We want it to be a bit more inclusive and cover, like I said, more recent conflicts, but include all of the forgotten battalions. We don't yet have quotes. We don't anticipate it will cost a lot of money. We're not looking to invest a fortune in this. We're happy to kind of keep this quite low key, but we anticipate it could cost up to £1,000. Looking for delegated authority on that element. Number 4 is the giant remembrance poppy, which you will all be familiar with. It's sighted on the market house every year. Unfortunately, when we took the poppy down last November, it's actually taken quite a big hit from weather and age, and is actually quite dangerous now. It's split and cracked all down the side, poses a risk in terms of its sighting on a historic building that is listed, so it could cause damage to the building, which would obviously reflect back onto us as the authority asking for it to be put there. So we're looking to replace the poppy. There's a couple of options. We can go like for like, that's what people are used to saying, or we could look to ask Selworthy School to commission a poppy that, again, there's a photo in the report, that they created for Mountbatten Nursing Home last year, which is wooden. There are a couple of considerations. The big poppy that's up on the market house traditionally has been there for many years, and yes, okay, it's weather worn now, but it has been there and has been quite resilient up until now. If we commission something that's made of wood, it's probably going to have quite a short shelf life. It's quite exposed there. It's up there for about 4 or 5 weeks every year through the worst of weathers. So it's just looking for a steer on what members would prefer to do really with that, as to whether we just replace like for like, or whether we commission something that's a little bit more bespoke, but we run the risk of potentially needing to replace that more frequently. So there isn't a set fee from the British Legion to purchase the poppy. They class it as a donation, and they are looking for £500 for the poppy. But if we commission one, it could go up to £550, because we would need to look at the fixtures and fittings that would be appropriate to fix a wooden poppy to the market house, going through all of the right approvals and planning. It's complicated. Next item then is the remembrance events cost. So whilst we have the traffic management, which will be coming back to committee in the future, there are still other costs that need to be covered across the series of 3 events that we host as a town council in collaboration with the Minster and the Royal British Legion and Somerset Council. They cover a whole variety of things, from hiring PA kits to printing order of services, down to hiring vehicles or crowd control barriers, first aid, refreshments, musicians, all of the things you would expect to see in each of those elements. And they come in just shy of £5,000. So I'm just looking for approval to start that planning process, start to secure these different elements up to about £5,000. The next element is carols around the bandstand, and that's very similar to Remembrance. It comes with a heap of things that we have to ensure we have in place, such as first aid, a sufficient sound and lighting so that people can actually enjoy the event. Again, that can cost up to £2,000. And then we have the past mayor and past consort badges, which are traditionally given to each mayor as they come to the end of their term, and their consort or mayoress. They aren't the cheapest of items to purchase. We have used a company called Thomas Fattorini for many, many years, going right the way back to Taunton Deane Borough Council days, and they hold what they call a die, which is the imprint of the little pendant that sits at the bottom of the chain. To get that recreated with another supplier costs almost as much as buying an entire badge. So they hold that die. When we became Taunton Town Council, we could simply change the colour of the ribbon. That's all that happened. So I have sought other quotes. I've tried to find other suppliers that can do this cheaper for us, and unfortunately, just to get those dies set up, increase the costs. But there's a decision to be made around whether this is something that we still want to do. But at this point in time, the assumption is that something will want to be done, and whether or not we can have delegated authority to spend up to £2,000 to procure those badges. There is an option to purchase more than one of each badge, and it does reduce the cost. The more you buy, for example, if you buy 5 badges, you almost save the cost of one entire badge, but it is a big initial outlay, but it does save money in the long run. So there is an option to look to procure more. We may not be able to do that from this year's budget, but we could perhaps factor that in for future years, bearing in mind that we are only doing a 1-year term. I think the reason this hadn't come to committee before is it wasn't fully established whether we would do a 1-year or a 2-year term, so we weren't sure how frequently we would be giving badges out. We didn't want to spend a fortune on things that sat in a safe for 10 years. That seems mental, but again, so it's delegated authority for up to £2,000 on that one. And then finally, the sign writing of the past mayor's boards. So they currently sit at the old municipal buildings, and they are very traditional wooden boards with gold handwritten sign lettering on there. So we want to update that board. It has captured every single mayor that Taunton has ever seen since 1877. So there is a historical factor with that. On the flip side of that, we would quite like to commission something that would be a bit more modern, that could be held here at the town council buildings, that documents everything that's happened from our inception, not just our mayors but our clerks. So there's 2 asks there. So there's an ask to update the boards that are held in the old municipal buildings, and to approve a request to seek designs and quotes for a second set of boards that would be cited here. We don't particularly want sign written boards. We want something that could be updated perhaps a little easier. Sign writers are few and far between now. You really do have to search to find them that can create and replicate what's already on that board. So it's a tricky thing to do and costly. So again, that's another seeking of a permission to start the process. So there's £550 budget attached to the official boards at the old municipal buildings, but it's just the second part is just to seek permission to go ahead and start the process for more modern boards for here. So all of these activities do align with our corporate plan. They align with corporate priority 3 and 4, where we are an engaged community and encouraging a vibrant culture. These events that we hold do bring everyone together. There is an expectation that these events will happen. So a risk, as I've noted in the report, is that reputationally this could be damaging if we stray too far from things as to how we explain why we're not doing them, because for some people the only interactions they have with us are through things like Remembrance Sunday or through carols around the bandstand, because other than that they're quite happy and self-sufficient, but they just love to come and be part of what we put on in the town. anybody's got any questions or concerns, then now's the time.
Thank you, Joe, for that. Any question? Councillor Tully.
Chair, I do apologise. I should have given my apologies. I'm the I'm the church warden at the Minster, and I agree with what Joe says. The crosses look appalling for a county town. They do need repairing. You know, we have dignitaries there, we have bands, everything there, and the crosses look as if they've come out of the ark. So, whatever else you do, please do that, because that also reflects on the Minster. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Tully. Any more questions? Councillor Evans.
It's not a question, just to say that it's a great report, and I really do appreciate all the hard work that goes into these, and I would completely agree that they mean so much to people in the town, and they're done extraordinarily well. And that's because somebody puts a team, obviously, but somebody with a lot of knowledge and sensitivity puts a lot of work into them, and I absolutely appreciate getting the small details right is really important. So I'm very happy with everything in this. And you do what you think is best vis-a-vis the giant poppy. Sounds to me the easiest thing is just to go like for like, but what do I know? You know, I just think it is very complex, and it's all in very safe hands, fortunately.
It is.
Councillor Evans. Thank you. Any more questions?
We could always ask Selworthy if they would like to make one for us to put here,
Yeah.
if we wanted to.
Mm.
I don't know what costs are involved, but I can certainly ask a question.
That would be. Thank you, Joe. So just after Craig has just whispered in my ear and made a slight amendment I need to talk to you about. So I think in the report, it's members to give delegated powers to community and place managers to spend up to £500 from the civic events and activities budget line for ad hoc small spend. And what I've been asked to do is to increase that spend up to £650. So it's got a slight amendment into that one. So if we take 1 to 3 first, and then we'll have a look at that final one. So members to consider the violent, no, wrong one. Well, we could do the violent, couldn't we? We could do that one. Let's try again. Members to consider and approve a budget allocation of £11,950 for upcoming civic events and activities, and to give delegated powers to the community and place manager to spend up to £11,950 on the proposed civic events and activities, and to note that the Remembrance Sunday traffic management tender submissions will be coming to committee for review and decision in the near future. So can I have a proposer for those three? Councillor Pollard, seconder, Councillor Isaac. All those in favour? Thank you. And then can I have a proposer that we amend the figure up to increase the spend up to £650? So Isaac's and seconded by Councillor Pollard. All those in favour? You carried. So do I have to do the whole recommendation again, or because we've voted to increase it to 650?
Yeah, vote on the amendment.
The amendment.
Yeah.
Okay. So the amended recommendation now reads to give delegated powers to the community and place manager to spend up to £650 from the civic events and activities budget line for ad hoc small spend. Can I have a proposer? Councillor Tully, seconder Councillor Pollard. All those in favour? Thank you, Joe.
Oh, thank you.
Thank you. 16. We're getting there. So pop-up shop. So this is it's not been back to committee for quite a while, I think, hasn't it? Since we put it on hold, because originally we weren't sure what was happening with devolution. We weren't sure if we had to commit those funds elsewhere. So but we would like to bring it back to committee to see if there's still interest for that particular pop-up shop. So we are being asked to consider the recommendation to revisit the pop-up shop project, to consider the recommendation for a second public consultation and the re-establishment of the pop-up shop task and finish group, and to consider the review of the pop-up shop project scope to consider the potential for use as a share shop or similar. And I'd like to hand over to Craig.
Yeah, thank you, Chair. So just to give you some timeline and background information on this. So this was something that was first spoken about back in November 2023. Full Council approved the pop-up shop initiative pending the initiation of the public consultation. Then there were some sensitive financial decisions, as Councillor Fernandez was just alluding to, with regards to devolution conversations and Somerset Council's financial emergency. So the decision to halt the project was recommended by the Community and Place Committee back on the 24th of September and brought to full council in November 24. Now that those time-sensitive financial decisions have been made by the Community and Place Manager, would like to recommend that the project is revisited. So this would require now support from the projects team, with further public consultation to establish if the need for the pop-up shop location is still of public interest, and the re-establishment of that task and finish group. It is hoped to incorporate a shared community space to allow for a share shop or library or similar as part of the ambitions that have been set out in the climate and ecological plan. Officers would also like to highlight that the scope of the pop-up shop project is reviewed in conjunction with the existing projects within the projects team to appropriately address any of the prioritizing projects that are on their list. So in terms of the corporate plan implications, it actually hits the corporate plan priority 1, a prosperous town, investing in improvements for our whole town to enhance the experience of residents and visitors, as well as attract business investment and shoppers, which in turn supports the economic growth. It strongly aligns to our climate and ecological plans with regards to the council's net zero ambitions. Depending on the operational model and the council's control of the facility, the shop would increase our downstream scope 3 emissions, as under the UK guidance for emission calculations, the council would need to account for any leased sites within their net zero emissions. And in addition, although not a direct implication, if the decision is approved to revisit the scope of the pop-up shop to potentially include a shared community space, this could contribute to the achievement of several deliverables under ambition 2 of our climate and ecological emergency strategy and action plan. So in terms of the financial and resource implications, so the council has a designated budget of £30,000 for economic development. This initiative has the opportunity to generate income off the back of that to support offsetting costs and further supporting other economic activity. If you need me to go through the risk assessment, I'm happy to do so, but due to time, I'm happy to go straight to questions. Thanks very much.
Thank you, Craig. Any questions? That's for Tony.
I was on the working group for the last one. Now, before you go ahead, is there a possibility to find out how Wellington is now doing with their one? Are they still operating? Are they still making a profit before we say we do something else? I'll be grateful for that.
Yeah, that's a good point, Councillor Tully. Thank you. So you can certainly take that forward.
Yeah.
From there.
Yeah, I'm just happy to add, as part of the consultation work, we would obviously review that with entrepreneurs, new startup businesses, the residents, but also as part of that, engage with the local Wellington Town Council and take a review of their pop-up shop. I understand it's actually still performing really, really well.
Thank you. Thank you. Any further questions? Okay. So again, we'll take all three together. So consider the recommendation to revisit the pop-up shop project, to consider the recommendation for a second public consultation and the re-establishment of the pop-up shop task and finish group, And to consider the review of the pop-up shop project scope to consider the potential for use for a share shop or similar. I have a proposer, Councillor Ellis, seconder, Councillor Pollard, all those in favour. And thank you. So we have two more items. I'm going to do those in 15 minutes. Okay, I'll take that as let's get on with it. So, the community in place plan. So we're just being asked to consider the updates to the community in place plan as detailed in the report and to recommend the adoption of the plan to full council. Is this Craig or is this Tim?
Tilly.
Tilly. Thank you.
Thank you. So I'll thank you for that, Chair. I'll run straight through to the key updates for everyone. If there's any questions, please do let me know. So we'd like to update the community and place plan in 3 different locations. So the first is that we have recommended and drafted an update for the plan where it separates out antisocial behaviour commitments and the young people elements of the plan. Antisocial behaviour remains under ambition 3, a supported and safe community, and officers have expanded the actions to more widely tackle ASB issues in the town. More specifically, suggesting the formation of a stakeholder network to collaboratively align efforts. The youth engagement has been drafted as a new section under ambition 2, a connected community. One of the key reasons for doing this is that it's very important that these 2 areas were actually tackled individually, as it could be seen as prejudicial and biased to assume that all of our ASB issues are caused by young people, and it was felt that clearer detail on how the council wished to tackle both these areas separately should be included within the plan. I have provided in the report screenshots of the updated wording, which I won't go through for now, but it is there if you'd like to read through it. In addition, under ambition 3, a supported and safe community, officers have drafted an additional subtitle called positive social impact. This section details our approach to measuring the impact and outcomes of our activities in the community. Often there are varying approaches and standards for impact assessment, so by introducing our own framework we can consistently ensure that we are fulfilling the action set out in this plan, respond to funding bids comprehensively, etc. Although tracking and monitoring the outcomes of our work could be seen as business as usual activity and therefore not an essential addition to the plan, for the purpose of transparency, it was felt by officers that it was important that this is captured more explicitly in the plan to ensure there is a consistent approach to impact management. So by implementing a transparent and standardised social impact management framework, it allows the council to benchmark performance and continuously improve our outcomes, strengthen funding applications through clear demonstration of impact and value, build trust with residents, partners and stakeholders by demonstrating our positive outcomes, ensuring our strategic investments deliver meaningful and lasting community benefits. And in addition to strengthening our ability to measure our commitments in this plan, it also allows us to meet our corporate priority of a council that delivers by strengthening accountability, improving resource allocation, and demonstrating the positive difference we make through evidence-based monitoring of outcomes. And again, I've included a screenshot in the report of the wording that's suggested under this subtitle. There have been no financial or resource implications that have been identified for this, as we're just asking for the updated wording to be recommended to full council. Thank you.
Thank you, Tilly. Any questions? No. Okay, thank you. So we're just considering those updates, and we are going to recommend the adoption of the plan at full council. Can I have a proposer? Councillor Pollard, seconder, Councillor Isaacs. All those in favour? And carried. Thank you very much. And our final item is refurbishment of the rotundas and window dressing, and I think that's Craig to Read the report. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Chair. So, as you'll be aware, there are a number of iconic rotundas throughout the town centre. We have one in Goodland Gardens, a couple in the town centre, one in Bivory Park. They're currently under the ownership of Somerset Council, and they are managed by the Visitors Centre. As you may have noticed, they're not looking particularly great at the moment with smashed windows. So we are wanting to utilise part of our town centre improvement budget to invest in the rotundas to help generate income. But of course, they are currently under the ownership of Somerset Council. So one of the first requests is to seek authorisation to Somerset Council to look at transferring the ownership of the rotundas to the town council. And I've had some initial conversations with the visitor centre, who would be still happy to operate and manage and deal with the bookings that come through. And in addition to that, there are a couple of units within the primary retail area, the town centre, that are not looking their best, shall we say. And I think as part of when the hanging baskets go up, we want to make the town to look as attractive and as pleasant as possible. So there's a request to utilise £10,000 of the town centre improvement pot for vinyl wrapping some of those vacant units in colourful colours, and also in making those decisions in conjunction with the chair of the Community and Place Committee. Happy to take any questions. Thank you.
Thank you, Craig. Any questions on that? Councillor Isaac.
Yes, thank you, Chair, and Craig, another good report. Could I ask to be added onto there, perhaps the former Wilco building? It's not quite in the centre, but it's a bit of an eyesore. There's a smashed window there, and it's right opposite a lot of prime shopping. You know, Marks and Spencer's is quite close, and anybody walking past it doesn't look too good, I don't think, if that's possible. Thank you.
Yeah, Craig.
Yeah, just to confirm, apologies for missing that unit off the report, but it is within the primary retail area, and yeah, very happy to include that as part of the window dressing.
Councillor Tully.
Yeah, it's just that a planning last week, sometime, we also decided on planning on something very similar to these being put up by, I think it was BT. And one of them is directly opposite the one opposite Debenhams. Do you know about that? There's about 8 of them being suggested.
Craig.
Yeah, thank you, Councillor Tully. I did tune in to watch the planning meeting when I was at home, and I was aware that BT do have a planning application to put some digital signage around the town centre. And I don't think that's in replacement of the rotundas. I think they are in addition. But yeah, I'm aware of them. Yeah.
Sorry, Chair, can I?
Yeah.
Sorry, Chair. I didn't think they were replacing, but we're going to end up with a heck of a lot of these advertising boards coming up. I know one is definitely opposite to the one by the Debenhams. The other one is about 100 yards towards the town centre. So you're getting very close together.
Yeah, thank you, Chair. It is a really important thing to consider, and I would hope that the planning committee may have suggested that as part of their feedback on the consultation of that planning application. Or I would hope that the lead planning officer at Somerset Council would recognise actually those specific locations and give constructive feedback on the siting of those specific areas. Okay. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Pollard.
With the rotundas, it's saying about there being income that is made from these through advertising. Is there any? Do we know how much, like in previous years, they've made from those? Just, I know it probably depends year by year, but just if we have any kind of rough idea.
Yeah, thank you, Councillor Pollard. So yeah, there's a table within the report that just shows the rotunda intake from April 2019 through to March 2025, and you can see that actually before the pandemic they were really well utilised. They were bringing in just under £10,000 a year Then we had the pandemic, so there is a bit of a blip in terms of the income that's happened since 2020. And subsequently, due to their lack of investment and keeping them kind of in good condition, we've also seen obviously an impact on the yearly takings to date. But hopefully, if we take ownership of them and do them up, we can be expecting to see income of around about £10,000, I would suggest. Thanks.
Thank you, Craig. Thank you. So any further questions, as I'm conscious of the time? we don't want to suspend standing orders again. So we are being asked to consider the request for the Town Council to seek transfer rotunda assets from Sunset Council to Taunton Town Council, which absolutely does make sense. To agree to delegate authority to the Community in Place Manager to spend up to £10,000 from the Town Centre Improvements line to refurbish the rotundas in the Town Centre, and to agree to delegate authority to the Community in Place Manager to spend up to £10,000 from the Town Centre Improvement budget line for window dressing of vacant units. Can I have a proposer? Councillor Ellis, a seconder, Councillor Pollard. All those in favour?
Yeah.
Thank you.
I think there was an additional item, recommendation in the report, which follows after this one, which is members to delegate the design of the window dressing
Oh, there is, yes.
place manager.
Yeah, yeah, and thank you. And members to delegate the design of the window dressing with to the Community in Place Manager and Chair of Community in Place. Councillor Isaacs and seconder, Councillor Ellis. All those in favour? Thank you, Molly. Thank you. Thank you. And that it's 20:58, so that draws this meeting to a close. Thank you very much, everybody.
Thank you, Chair.